Good evening. My name is Roger Hodgson. I'm the principal of Kathmandu University's Center for Buddhist Studies at Rangjang Yeshe Institute. I warmly welcome honored guests, speakers, and friends here in Nepal, and also those from across the world who are online, to this, the 2023 International Conference on Buddhism, Creativity, and Art. It's a pleasure to have you all with us. As many of you may know, Rangjang Yeshe Institute was founded in 1996 by Chokyi Nyima Rinpoche and envisions a world in which a wide diversity of people interested in studying Buddhism and Buddhist language has easy access to a living Buddhist tradition in order to foster the qualities of wisdom and compassion for the benefit of all sentient beings. And to achieve this vision, the Institute's mission is to be a center of higher learning, working to the highest standards, combining traditional and academic Buddhist education. We have come a long way since the early days in 1996, and it is great to hold this international conference and exhibition here, not least as a demonstration of where the Institute and its partnership with Kathmandu University has reached. But also the last major conference at the KU Center for Buddhist Studies at Rangjang Yeshe Institute was before the pandemic in 2017. And so this conference is part of a re-emergence into an engagement with the wider world. Many people have been involved in organizing this conference, and I would like to give thanks to them all. Thank you. In particular, Dr. Diane Denis, the overall coordinator, to Swasti Kayasta, the curator, and to Olaf Axelsson, Diane's assistant. Please give them a big round of applause. And I'd like to invite the students of Dr. Diane's art class who would like to present a bouquet. Well, you don't know everything that's going to happen, you know. Thank you, Diane. Without her, you wouldn't be sitting here today. She's really initiated this event, and thank you very much. Now I'd like to introduce Professor Dr. Bhadraman Tulada. He is an advisor and founding member of Kathmandu University. In 1951, he was the first student of the first Buddhist high school in Nepal, Ananda Kuti Vidyapith, that good pronunciation, in Swayambhu. Dr. Tulada earned a PhD in theoretical mechanics from People's Friendship University in Moscow in 1983. He's an Ashoka Fellow and president of the Mathematics Sciences Trust Nepal. He's an eclectic person, absolutely fantastic to spend time with him. He has been involved in the establishment of a number of educational institutions, including Tribhuvan University's Institute of Applied Science and Technology, which has just celebrated, he told me, its golden anniversary, completing 50 years. In 1983, he began the establishment of a science college called Kathmandu Valley College with Dr. Suresh Raj Sharma, then member secretary of the National Education Committee. And in 1992, Kathmandu Valley College became Kathmandu University. So that's where Kathmandu University came from. Dr. Tulada took a strong interest in Rangjang Yeshi Institute and was a key person in bringing about the partnership between KU and the Institute, with the establishment of the KU Center for Buddhist Studies at Rangjang Yeshi Institute in 2001. And I'm say both Dr. Tuladar and myself had the pleasure of being present at the signing ceremony in 2001 in the presence of Chokyamuni Rinpoche and Dr. Suresh Raj Sharma, who by that time had become the Vice Chancellor of KU. In recognition of Dr. Tuladar's invaluable contribution to this institution and also the promotion of education in Nepal, I invite him to light the lamp to open and bless this conference. But just before I ask you to stand up, but before lighting the lamp, I'd like to say, after the lighting, Shreeti Pradhan, a RYI student and member, I think, of the arts course, will welcome you with the green Charya dance. The Charya Nritya is a meditative dance form preserved by the Neva community native to Kathmandu Valley. In the dance, the dancer uses mental meditation, vocal singing, and embodied dance to unite their body, speech, and mind with that of the meditational deity. In other words, to become the deity in body, speech, and mind. Dr. Tuladar, would you like to come and light the lamp?
My name is Diane Denis, and I'm the coordinator of this event. I think you got that from previous intervention. So I joined my voice to Roger's warm welcome to this conference, an art exhibit opening. This year, we wanted to welcome you into our home, the place where we work, we do research, we reflect, we study, we nurture wisdom, and we also foster a sense of community. And in some way, this is the kind of community we would like to welcome you into. So as Roger said, we have a history of holding such conferences. And so we're reviving this. And we hope that we will do that often, bring you into community, discuss things that are meaningful for us in a time of great uncertainty in our world. Nepal is an important place for research, especially Buddhist studies, culture, and art. So every year, many scholars come here from abroad to study and do research, conduct research, all kinds of research. And we are happy, all of us here, to offer a forum and share these insights, these findings. This conference was developed in a workshop style. So everybody was asked to read the papers of their panels so we can have fruitful discussions. So you'll see that we're kind of a little bit prepared, maybe not as much as we would all like, because everybody is very busy. But this means that all the panel members were asked to bring their papers before so that we could think about what that meant. And it also means that our RYI core scholars will be the respondent for each panel. So you'll have a chance to meet Danielle McNamara, who's a core faculty here. Also Julia Stenzel. By the way, she's the one that initiated this whole thing in December by throwing me into this idea of possibly doing the conference on Buddhism and art. So here we are, so we can blame her for that. I've enjoyed the ride a whole lot, so I can rejoice in that initiative. What a wonderful invitation, really. To this list, I should note also the precious input from Greg Sharkey, who is there with us and will lead us, some of us, to Patton on Monday. So this conference and exhibit also comes out as a result of an RYI courses but many courses. So we had courses on Buddha nature, and Madhyamaka, along with the courses on Buddhism and art this semester. So the art exhibit that you will see downstairs is the result of our reflection over what it means to bring Buddhist ideas and manifest them through creativity. You can have access to some of these discussions through our series of public talks through the SoundCloud channel, also YouTube channel. We have some of these recordings, and there's also an online exhibit that you might be interested in. So the theme for this weekend, as you now know, is a special discussion on how creativity is at the very core of Buddhist thought and paths. We will travel different means of expressions, bring in philosophy, look at traditions, at the history, contemporary realities, contemplative art practices, translation also, museology, conservation, and much more. We will look at artistic forms, of course, but also at formlessness, emptiness, spontaneous arising, luminosity, sky gazing. You know, as one prepares such an event, one wishes the best outcome, really. Smooth running, fruitful debates, inspiring networkings, auspicious connections. But being part of Buddhist Inspired Institute, one, in that case myself, also make the wish that all our discussion be a source of inspiration and a source of insight. So we all know that throughout history, Buddhist scholars and practitioners have sought wisdom. So that's basically the main basis of wisdom of Buddhist studies and practice. And to this end, scholars have discussed mind and its function at length. They have also practiced various art forms such as song, painting, sculptures, poetry, architecture, dance, as we saw. And if the role of reason is well established within various Buddhist traditions, the question here is, what is the role of creativity? How does it transform individuals? How does it widen our perspective? At present, many planetary crises urges us as scholars, educators, artists, students, socially concerned individuals to see what and how ancient Buddhist insight could contribute to our contemporary world. Creativity surely is called for at this time. We are eager to hear and discuss these issues with you, and hope that you have a great stay with us here in this very special place by the Buddha Stupa, and if you're online, wherever you may be. We would appreciate throughout the weekend, while you're in this conference space, that you turn off your mobile phones just to create that kind of space. I thank also the organizing committee, staff, volunteers for their great and absolute fantastic work. To name a few, of course, there is Swasti and Olaf, who Roger already thanked, but I also personally wanted to thank Daphne, who was there all along, and the technical crew who had to deal with so many kind of unusual wishes. So Sonam, Dorje, Dawa, without whom this event would not have taken place. So it is really our privilege to have you with us today to host you. And you can sign our guest book downstairs with emails if you want to have more information about our programs and ideas and more discussions. And also some notes if you have something to tell us that might be interesting for future conferences. And while I'm at it, I take this opportunity to introduce our keynote speaker, Jérôme Edou, who has been a student of Khenpo Tsogtrom Gyatso Rinpoche for many decades. He has been living in Nepal for more than 30 years and shares his time between practice, writing, Chan painting, and teaching. While running his trekking endeavor in the Himalayas, we could say that he's really a man of mountains, but also the author of several books in both French and English, among which I really encourage you to read Machi Klabdran and the Foundation of Chur, published after 2004 in English. In French, if you're interested, Tibet et les chevaux de vent, published in 2007. And more recently, a single brushstroke, Chan Mind, Spiritual Painting, published in 2022. So fresh off the press, both in French and English. You will also be able to appreciate 3 of his paintings until March 5th in our exhibit downstairs, True Perception. And his talk today is titled Ink, Brush, and Emptiness. So please welcome with me our keynote speaker, Jérôme Edou.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Jérôme, and I've been, as Diane said, living here for many years. And Diane asked me to be a keynote speaker, and till 5 minutes ago, I had no idea what it means. Fortunately, my good friend Tia gave me the right tone. She said, call it C sharp. C like seeing, sharp. So we are going to try to see sharp. So that's probably the keynote. Okay. In terms of what we are going to talk about tonight, it's called Chan painting, or I call it Chan paintings. People call it Zen painting, Sumye. We can call it meditative painting or contemplative paintings, meaning that it's a painting that starts from the mind to the object, to the painting. Still today, we are really impressed when we see the Paleolithic parietal paintings in Lascaux or in many caves around the world by their simplicity, by the suggestive aspect, unfinished. This is exactly what Chan painting is all about. Simplicity, suggestion, unfinished, empty space. Art is a non-verbal language which is transmit meaning through form. It's a silent communication medium, and it's beyond, of course, as we know, beyond concept, reasoning, and rational logic. Art brings meaning beyond words. It should be contemplated and not deciphered. When the message is more important than the messenger, the art form, it is not art anymore. It's a logo, it's advertising, or a pious image. And the artist's responsibility is to express through visible means the invisible, the unspeakable truth, and that's its freedom. In the Western art history, we come from a resemblance of nature. The painters and the artists are trying to imitate nature. And then, of course, with Monet at the turn of the 19th century, at the end of the 19th century, Monet removed the object and worked only with light. After light, it was the abolition of light that gave birth to abstraction, ending up with Malevich, square, white square on a white background. Abstractions. And of course, at the end of the chain, we have Duchamp, this French artist, and his definition of art is what the artist consider to be art. Okay. In China, at the same time, this revolution started around the 10th century. It started with a cutting the conformity to the form, to the outer aspect, to conformity to the spirit of the painter and of the subject. So we had a total change of paradigm around the 10th century, not trying to imitate nature, not trying to reproduce nature, but trying to express the inner realization of the painter through ink, brush, and paper. So this trend started, it gave the primacy not on the object, not of the art form, but on the mind. So being here in Rangjung Yeshe Institute, we all know what it means, talking about the nature of the mind, taking of the attitude and the empty nature of the mind, which should be the beginning, the starting board, standing board, jumping board, something board, jumping board, for this expression of the nature of the mind through ink and brush. Just to quote D.T. Suzuki, he says, in Japan, following China, one does not study art for art's sake, but for the spiritual clarity that it brings. If art is stuck in formal representation, it doesn't lead to essential depth. It is not worth it. Meaning that in Japan, like in China, painting is an expression of the essential nature of mind, essential nature of life, and not just a representation of nature or an imitation of nature. So this is important. It gives us the attitude of the painters without being stuck in formal representation, trying to lead the spectator as the painter himself into essential depth, into the nature of phenomena. In order to understand a bit more this Chinese painting or this Chinese approach or contemplative paintings, it's important to understand the difference between religion and spirituality. Very often nowadays, they are mixed up. You know, people talk about religion, people talk about spirituality, mixing up all kind of different approach in these two concepts. But actually, there is a real difference between religion and spirituality. When we talk about spirituality, we are not talking about religious art, which can be ornamental, can be historical, it can be telling stories of the great master and teacher of yore, it can be an illustration of miracles and so on. This is a religious art compared to what we call spiritual art, which is definitely expressing the realization of the painter himself. Like Kalo Rinpoche was once saying, my advice, don't be a Buddhist to display yourself as one. And closer to us, John Lennon, or it was maybe Mick Jagger, I don't know, he said, don't be a Buddhist, be a Buddha. So here we shift from the religious approach to the spiritual approach of this painting. Be a Buddha means remain in the own nature. We are not talking about a historical Buddha, which is on statues and representation everywhere. We're talking about Buddha nature, which is inside all of us. So in order to differentiate between religion and spirituality, then it's important to understand that Chan or Zen is a direct transmission outside of the scriptures, okay, which penetrates directly human heart through the contemplation of its own nature. So in this attitude, in this artistic approach, we don't go from the object to the subject and reinterpretation by the painter to give it back. It's actually the realization of the painter himself that is trying to express through a few brush strokes. Okay, that's one, yeah. So this Chinese approach, or the Chan approach, or this contemplative approach of art, it's art which is centered on empty space. If you have seen Chinese painting or Zen painting in Japan or somewhere else, empty space is the key to this painting. Traditionally, they say that 2/3 of the painting should be empty. So it's not, we are not trying to represent anything. We are just trying to express through absence and presence, through the summit coming out of the clouds, okay, the ultimate nature of phenomena. In that sense, that's the way this creativity goes from the inner experience of the painter to the canvas, to the paper, through the brush. This tradition was actually started around the 10th centuries, but what we call eccentric painters. Why eccentric? Not because they were outside of any kind of center, they were outside academism, of course, unorthodox painting, but especially because they're how can you put that? Yeah, actually, because through this allusive and suggestive painting, it's bringing the center, eccentric, outside of the center, bringing the center of this art form, not outside on the canvas, but on the inner realization of the painter. In that sense, when we talk about original piece, we're not talking about originality or rupture with the past. Like nowadays, everybody wants to be original, wants to be, different from before, and trying to create new art forms. But here, what we call this original piece means original towards the mind, meaning beginner's mind. Probably most of you have read Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, Suzuki Roshi, book of the 70s, which is still the key and the teaching of Zen in the West. So when we talk about an original painting, we are not talking about something, a painting which is as some kind of originality, but which is original means going back to the source, going back to the origin. So in terms of this kind of art painting, the key is always remain a beginner. When we talk about beginner's mind, is this primordial mind, the nature of the mind, which is empty and luminous, from where the painter is going to create through brush and ink. When we remain in this beginner's mind, this is empty mind, then we are in empathy with all beings. So here we have emptiness and compassion. So the most important in this painting approach is actually before painting. Meaning that before, you've seen down this beautiful Enzo, okay, this circle, in Japanese, Enzo means circle. This beautiful Enzo, meaning it's the union of emptiness and form. Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. So in this beautiful Enzo, first you start to meditate, to empty your mind, then you take your brush, and in one stroke, you draw this circle, this Enzo. It is a very traditional way for a Japanese teacher to teach painting and to teach meditation through paintings to students. So you can really see this Enzo, which is actually a beautiful realization, and congratulations to the author. So what we could say, as a definition of this painting, we could say rest in presence and move from emptiness. So before taking brush and ink, before doing anything, the attitude is an attitude of meditation, emptying the mind, remaining in the nature of the mind, remain in presence, here and now, and then moving in emptiness. So it's from the emptiness that we are moving, it's not from something which comes outside, even though it can be inspired by nature, by bamboos, by river, mountains, landscape, but it starts from emptying the mind, okay? And when you bring down the turmoils of emotions, then the landscape can rise spontaneously from your own mind. So this is really the attitude of this painting. First, start in emptiness, start in meditation, and then you can take the brush, like in the Enzo, you take the brush, and then you draw. It means that we are looking for artistic intelligence, which is before the mental, before thoughts. We call our inner intuition, we call our creativity from this meditative state in which we are going to draw and present the landscape, the flowers, the bamboos, whatever. At the end of the day, it's not a problem of the object. You can see in the tradition, you know, some great painters have been just doing a few bamboos, leaves, you know, some very sophisticated landscape. It can be some persimmons. They have great example of that in the tradition. But the object is not important. What is important is the inner realization of the painter. The painter draws from his own realization. And what we say, we have to look for the shortest way between the intuition and the brush. And this vehicle between this intuition and the brush is what we call the chi, the energy, the breath. So with one breath, we are going to start drawing on the breath. So that's, of course, that's the idea behind it. Of course, we can have very sophisticated landscape, but the other day when I gave a conference here, some people asked me, when do you know when a painting is finished? A painting is finished when we get out of this single moment energy. In one single moment, it can be 5 minutes, it can be 5 strokes, it can be 3 hours, but basically, when you finished this energy, when you cut this energy, then the painting is finished. No repentance, no remorse, no correction. It's drawn, it's there, and it goes. Why is that? Because life, which is what we want to express, life in its own true nature, the true empty nature of all phenomena, life is here and now. 2 hours later, it's gone. The next day, it's gone. So what we are trying to express is this very instant, which is the life through brush and ink. When we say resting in the presence, moving in emptiness, we have to be totally present, playful, joyful, and in connection with our own inner presence. From this connection, then we let the intelligence, our intelligence, paint by itself. It's not I paint with my ego, with my will, with my purpose of trying to do a beautiful painting, trying to achieve something. It's just in the empty state, drawing without any sense of purpose. The famous Japanese Zen adage said, make tea and leave. We don't make tea to be recognized by our friends. We don't make tea eventually to drink it. We don't make tea for any other purpose than making tea for the purpose of making tea, to be totally here and now in the present moment, which is life, which is reality. There is no other reality than this very instant here and now. Making tea and leave. If you make tea and then you turn back and you go without repentance, without idea of a return. We don't try to return later on. Oh, I should have done that. Oh, I should have done this and that. This is the mental taking over. This is the emotions taking over. In order for our painting to be as creative as possible, we have to cut the mental, looking for the intuition or the inner intelligence of the Buddha nature behind the thoughts, behind concept, behind reasoning. Very often when we paint, we do something quickly, and then we take the brush again and said, oh, I should have done something else. And here, if I had put a little thing, I should do a little something, okay? And then normally, I'm sorry for the word, but we screw it. That's happened very often, okay? Instead of just being with the flow, then we try to put some details and try to tell stories. It's another story, it's gone. Life is gone. We are not in the moment here and now. Okay. So this aspect, this creativity can happen on its own. You would just have to be open and available and joyful, and then it becomes like a dance. We just had this Tara dance, the Dakini dance, joy, because it's the expression of this pure nature of the mind, which is expressed through brush and ink, and there is nothing else. No grasping, okay? We allow just things to happen here and now. So one of the classical examples in Chinese painting by She Tao, was a famous 18th century painter. He said, you have to paint without intention, like the birds are flying, like the wind is blowing. And I'm talking about Chan painting or ink painting, but actually it's true for any form of art. Whether it's dance, whether it's acrylic paintings, it's just the attitude coming from the empty state of the mind, beyond thoughts, beyond ideas, beyond the will of achieving something, and beyond any kind of purpose, just to express life here and now in this very moment. Like Deshimaru would say, Deshimaru was a great Zen teacher in France. He was one of the first ones to bring Zen in the West. He said, you should abandon your ego to realize a masterpiece. As long as the will to do something, as long as the emotional ego or emotional intention is in the way, we are out of the life. We are cut off from this pure energy, from this pure energy of the nature of your mind. So empty the mind, and then from there, you start. And when the energy is gone, it's gone. No repentance, just here, now, totally as it is. Of course, this form of art is actually some kind of sacred art, but it's not sacred in terms of like a representation of the Buddhas, of the Bodhisattvas in the temples. It's or like icon paintings or even Tanka paintings, but it's a painting the true essence of phenomena, the energy of life. And in that sense, it's sacred. So we paint with authenticity of our own intensity in this very moment. It is not graspable. It is not conceptual. We can say, what is beauty? Unrepeatable, cannot be repeated. It's a one-time shot, no repentance, no retouching. So this brightness in the painting happen because we are totally in the moment. And that's where life happens, and the spectator can be put in direct contact with this truth. And therefore, there is a contact between the inner realization of the painter and that is shared with the spectator, because it's transmitting this inner realization and this very instant of openness. So instead of getting in an analysis of the truth, okay, through the other medium, actually, spectators and painters are sharing this very moment in emptiness. So empty space, unfinished suggestions. That means that life cannot be totally expressed and revealed just through brush and ink. That's why we have to stop the brush and leave it into empty space. Okay, because we cannot try to express all life just through our paintings by filling the canvas. We just suggest and let the empty space take over, which is the very nature of all phenomena. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. They are not separated, of course. So okay, another little idea is when we say, when we paint in this empty state of mind, we paint with the infallibility of a sleepwalker. I think I like this expression, a pure state of openness, silence and ecstasy. Actually, in China, silence and empty are actually synonymous words. So very often we talk about silent painting or painting in emptiness, or we talk about silencing the mind. It means silencing the turmoil of the emotions before taking the brush and being able to express. This idea of painting goes, of course, with the meditative states, as we've seen, and it's just also a way to let go of the rope, to let go of the hand trail of models or former paintings, imitation of such and such master. Of course, in the training, we need to imitate the enlightenment of the former painters through their own paintings. But slowly, the idea is just to let go, to open up, and to give up all habits, schemes, conditioning. The best painting is without premeditation, as we all know. If you've been doing some paintings or even some dancing, with spontaneous paintings or dancing, you see that it's always when it's without premeditation that the best paintings occur. And of course, when the instant is gone, you can always try to reproduce that and you will never manage. So that's why this painting is a one shot, is a one moment. It's not something that can be reproduced extensively. It's just one instant of openness into empty space, brush, and ink. I like this quote. She said, the wise sees nirvana in all things in daily life. The fool speculate about it, pretending it is somewhere else. So the invitation of this painting attitude is to see nirvana in all things of daily life. That's very Chan or very Zen approach. Nirvana is here and now in the daily life. is not somewhere else, as we all know. What is the ultimate meaning of Buddha Dharma? Nothing to expect, nothing to grab. Answer, Sekito. Is there something beyond that? Ask Dogo. The vast empty sky does not obstruct the passing of the white clouds. Answer the master. What is the ultimate meaning of Buddha Dharma? Nothing to expect, nothing to grab. Is there something beyond that? The vast empty sky does not obstruct the passing of the white clouds. Answer the master. And here we have everything about this Chan painting or this ink and brush painting. The vast empty sky and the passing of the white clouds. As a conclusion, I would like to quote Wang Wei. Wang Wei was a poet and painter in China in the 8th century. He's considered one of the best poets in China, as well as the best painter. And he's the first precursor of this ink wash painting, which is still alive today. He said, keep the ink stone in your hand, and from time to time, just space out in ludic contemplation. After many months and years, you will slowly reach a subtle, mysterious state. Beautiful awakening does not need extensive discourse. Thank you.
So we can thank everybody and declare this conference open. So please join us downstairs for the opening of the exhibit. There is also some refreshments and we can talk, discuss, ask questions to anyone who is here. And so I welcome everyone here and look forward to our discussion this weekend. Thank you.